Fantastic question from Patreon. I've actually never really thought about this, but I think it's a good question. I think it's something that a lot of folks are going to be dealing with, and I think I have an answer for you. Okay, so this was asked by Will Gonzalez. Will Gonzalez asked, I was asked from a coworker, is it okay to date someone outside their denomination? When do interdenominational relationships become a problem? Or is there, excluding Mormonism and Jehovah's Witness? A little funny, but seriously, though, your thoughts, Dr. Ruslan, Dr. Phil Voice. Okay. So this is a great question. Interdenominational dating. Now, if you don't know what a denomination is and you're like, what is he even talking about? A denomination is just different streams of Christianity, okay? Different streams of Christianity, meaning there is Pentecostals, there are Reformed, there are Dutch Reformed, there is Apostolic, there is all sorts of denomination. Then there's the non-denominational Christians, which is kind of its own denomination. There's the neo-evangelical, there's the fundamentalist Baptist. There are a lot of denomination. I would argue, and maybe they would disagree with me because they would say they're the one and true only church. I would say Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox. I would say Catholics are also a denomination because we believe that the capital C church is not just within any one denomination, but it's the broader movement of Jesus in the capital C church. And I would extend that to Catholics and Eastern Orthodox. Shout out to our Catholic and Eastern Orthodox folks. And so now we would place Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses outside of that because they disagree on some what I would say essential things of the faith, the Trinity, the eternal Godhead, Jesus being co-eternal, so on and so forth. So when do interdenominational relationships become a problem? This is when I think they become a problem. I think whenever a denomination starts seeing themselves as the only denomination. That's one. When a denomination you may be dealing with or dating sees themselves as the only denomination, that is already a red flag. It's already a red flag. The second thing is when a denomination, they may not see themselves as the only denomination, but they view your denomination and treat in a negative light and treat you like a JV Christian, like a junior varsity Christian. Okay. So I have a lot of friends of all denominations, believe it or not. I have really charismatic friends, and I have friends that may be a bit more reserved, maybe even cessationist or biblical continuationist. I'm not trying to get in the weeds and all this sort of stuff. But when you're a part of a denomination and then you're talking or dating someone from another denomination and they start seeing your denomination as inferior, then I would say that is a problem. When they start JV Christianing you, you're on the JV team. I'm on the varsity team, but you're on the JV team. And I think that to me would be somewhere I would be very concerned about in terms of the denominational conversation. So if you are, here's a real good example. Say you're in a Calvary Chapel stream. You're like, yo, I'm Calvary Chapel. Calvary Chapel, they believe in some of the gifts of the Spirit. They teach through the Bible verse by verse. They're we'll call them like a neo-evangelical denomination. This is Jesus Revolution, so on and so forth, right? That stream of Christianity. And then you're dealing with someone that's perhaps more charismatic. Now, Calvary Chapel believes in the gifts of the Spirit. But say you're talking to someone that's Pentecostal and they believe everybody can or has to speak in tongues. And because you're in Calvary Chapel and you don't speak in tongues, you don't have the gift of tongues, they start looking down on you and start treating you like a JV Christian. Oh, you really don't have the fullness. We got the fullness. You're a JV Christian. We're just going to pat you on the head. We're going to pacify you. You're not really on our level. That can create some serious issues within a marriage. I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores, and his wife, Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith, and Miles Minnick. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace. That could create some serious issues within a home. If you have one person that's super duper 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 charismatic and another person that is perhaps believes in the gifts of the Spirit, but they are less charismatic, they don't think everyone has to or can speak in tongues, but they think the gift of tongues is for today. That can create, and that's very close if you actually think about it. Like if you think of like a Pentecostal church and a Calvary Chapel, like theologically they're very similar. But if someone is like, "Yo, we're the best, we got the fullness, and therefore you're wrong, and you aren't on our level," that can create some tension in a marriage. And so I would say that is an example. Now, in a broader context, depending on which Catholics and which Orthodox you talk to, that's even more of a spectrum. So if you're Protestant and you're hanging in a Calvary Chapel environment, lots of emphasis on small groups, like lots of emphasis on verse by verse teaching, and you're not even thinking about all these different things, right? You're not even thinking about like, church history and councils, but the Lord is moving. You see the tangible hand of God and he's moving. And you go, wait a minute, this is great. This is God's working, God saving people. Good things are happening. And then you want to date a Catholic or an Orthodox, but not like a lay Catholic or an Orthodox, but like a really intense Catholic and Orthodox. And they start telling you stuff like, we're the only true church. You're not a part of the true church. You're not, you may be saved, but you don't have a valid communion. You may be saved, but you got a false church. That's going to create some issues in a relationship. And I would say those are things to account for, right? Interdenominational dating is something to account for with regards to these sorts of conversations. So you have to then count the cost. Which hills are you willing to die on? Which hills are you willing to compromise on and to be flexible on? Where are you willing to share some common ground, and what church are your kids going to be baptized in if you have kids, right? And so ultimately, I think people are all followers of Jesus. Like I believe there's Christians in all these streams, and then I believe there's nominal cultural Christians in all these streams that haven't really encountered Jesus, right? And so that's how I would look at it. Now, does that mean that you can't have any friends? Does that mean you can't acquire and meet someone and talk to someone? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that is something that I would count the cost on. I think that the even more important point would be to look at the spiritual maturity of a person. Are they spiritually mature and serious about their relationship with Jesus? Because I do believe that some of the details can be fine-tuned. I do believe that you can find agreement and alignment in areas that there might be some disagreement on initially and work through these things if there is a similar commitment to spiritual maturity, that these things could be sorted out. But these are real questions. So if you're like, yo, you got to speak in tongues versus like, I don't know if you got to speak in tongues, and one person is treating the other person like they're inferior, that's going to be an issue down the road, right? If they're going to stay committed to that. And so I think this is a Christian wisdom issue and a Christian maturity issue, if that makes sense. So it's a great question. Shout out to Will Gonzalez. And by the way, if you guys didn't know, we post the streams daily on Patreon, and then we ask you guys for topics and questions, and that's a very interesting one with regards to that. So props to him. Okay, hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.